Oops, that's not right, is it? Hey folks, how you doing? Neil Clark here from Falkirk Piping. Hold on a wee second. Just going to try and make sure that this is actually working. There we go. Right, it's always dead weird watching yourself. So, piping exams in general, and an hour of general rambles. If you are a channel member and you're watching this, then we can take your live chat this time. The last time we threw it open to the public. I can't remember what we talked about the last time, but we have to have a topic. So this time, we're going to be talking about piping exams in general. So why do we do them, first of all? I would suggest that the whole point of a piping exam, sitting an exam and passing an exam, is not going to make you a better piper, but preparing and practicing for that exam may well do. So that for me is one of the reasons, and we'll come back to another reason quite soon. In fact, we might as well sort of skirt about that just now. So my area of experience is with the Piping and Drumming Qualification Board exams. So I'm mainly going to talk about that, but I'm perfectly aware that there are other exams available all over the world, other examination systems. When I first entered into the PDQB, which we'll call them now, the Piping and Drumming Qualification Board exams, I also looked at the Eastern United States Pipe Band Association system, and I'll be quite honest, I was very, very impressed by it. I actually thought that by the time you got up to the top end, they probably went into more detail. I think their graduate programme at that time, we were talking 2008, 2010, was possibly even more stringent and challenging than the PDQB exams. So, but I'll talk about the Piping and Drumming Qualifications Board examinations first. What is it? How did it come about? So, prior to possibly about 2004, don't quote me on that though, we had several different bodies offering exams. We had the College of Piping offering their own exams, the National Piping Centre, because the two were two different entities at the time, the Army School of Piping and Drumming, and I believe the Institute of Piping, which was very much tied in with the Army School of Piping and Drumming. So they met and agreed to standardise their qualifications. And at first, these qualifications were solely Piping and Drumming Qualifications Board qualifications. Now, very quickly, the Army Cadet Organisation got on board with this as well. And this was really where I was introduced to it. I was an Army Cadet instructor and an Air Cadet instructor at that time, and I began to get involved with the annual camps up at Inverness, where, amongst other things, Piping and Drumming Qualifications Board exams were offered. And it was a good thing, because it was something for the kids to actually work towards and hopefully achieve at the end of the week. The general idea behind that was you wouldn't put kids in to an exam that you didn't know they were capable of passing, because you don't really want kids working towards something all week and then failing at the end of the week. That's a bit of a disaster morale-wise. So that was brought on, and it was very much seen as a good thing, and it was a good thing, and I'll come back to that. What was done by the PDQB over the next few years after that was I forget the actual word, but we brought the Scottish, or we approached the Scottish Qualifications Authority, who are the authority for any educational qualification, official educational qualification issued in Scotland. So the examination system was changed just a little bit, but it was ratified by the Scottish Qualifications Authority, who are the same authority as issue degrees, all the school exams. It's the same. It's the same thing. So now the PDQB exams are Scottish Qualification Authority exams, which means that kids gaining PDQB exams, or anyone gaining PDQB exams, has a proper official educational certificate. Now, what was especially good about that was that some of these kids that were going to that camp weren't really going to be getting any other educational certificates. Now, that's not being unkind, that's a statement of fact. But we were able to equip them with properly ratified educational certificates, which showed any future employer perhaps that they had done an educational course and passed exams and been proficient in something and put the work in, worked towards it. So that was an absolutely fantastic thing. And the cadets took this on so much that they actually were accredited as an examination centre. So they operate their own, they have their own assessors there now. I'm no longer involved. And they can operate the whole assessment procedure themselves. And they're still heavily into it, and that's a fantastic thing. So the bodies involved now, as far as I know, is the Army, the National Piping Centre, because the College of Piping no longer exists, the Army Cadets and the Royal Scottish Pipe Band Association. I forgot to mention them earlier on. And generally the idea was that these examinations would replace any examinations which had previously taken place. Now, that's not absolutely happened. They still do often offer examinations, but they are not Scottish Qualification Authority examinations. Therefore, they're nice bits of paper. They say, yes, you attended this course and you did rather well on the exam, but it's not a life qualification as such. So that's part of the reason why I put such faith in the PDQB examination system. I was an assessor. I was an assessor for the PDQB for some years. Originally, I was an assessor for the College of Piping, and when that was taken over by the National Piping Centre, I was on the books. But at the same time, COVID hit, and I wasn't examining. I wasn't really examining much anyway. I had been going in and conducting some exams for the College of Piping, but they were superseded, and I decided to give it up, just basically because I wasn't using it. And we had to attend refreshers every year, and I was kind of grudging the time, and I certainly wasn't going to give the time for something which I wasn't using, and I was highly unlikely to be using. So I've chucked it. I'm no longer an assessor, but I do know basically the ins and outs of the system. One thing that's happened recently is worldwide you can sit these exams. Just to recap, if you're watching now, I see there are 10 people watching. This is a members only video. You can watch it, you can listen to me rabbit on for an hour, but you can only comment on this or take part in the live chat if you are in fact a member of our channel. So you can have a look at doing that if you fancy it. This stuff happens once a month. There are other perks, but we'll certainly pick a topic for an hour's discussion every month. So SQA exams, they are structured. The way that it goes, when the PDQB first thought of the exams, it went from level 1 to 4, and then there were 2 levels above that. It was always intended that once you reached the level 4, which is now SQA 6, it's a bit confusing, same exams, but confusing with the numbers, then things would divide and you could carry on at a sort of solo piping level. By the way, these exams are offered for pipers or drummers, pipe band drummers of any description. I'm only going to talk about the piping side. So solo piping or pipe band studies, and I believe that that's now offered. So you can reach level 4 or level 6 as it is now, SQA level 6, and you can decide whether or not you want to go forward with the exams on a solo piping basis, or you want to go forward with on the pipe band studies side. Again, I don't know anything about the pipe band studies. It's fairly new, so I'm going to talk about the solo piping side. The examinations themselves are split into two sides. There is a theory paper and a practical paper. And again, it used to be the case that you had to go and sit your exam and do both papers in the one day, but you can now do them on separate times if you want. I did all mines on the same day, but you can, if you want to sit the theory and then go back and sit the practical, that is to say, go back and play your pipes in front of an examiner. You can split the days up. You don't have to do the same, the two together now. It's also the case that you can sit these exams at an examination centre. So you've got the cadets, the National Piping Centre. Now that can be at the National Piping Centre itself, or at a school, a course run by the National Piping Centre. But you can also do it over Skype. Now that's been okayed. The way that they get round that is you have to arrange to take the examination in an educational centre wherever you are. You also have to provide an invigilator, if that's the correct word. So someone who is neutral needs to be in the location with you. And that's probably to make sure you don't cheat, to be perfectly honest, but you can do it. And you can also do the practical over Skype as well. And no real reason, especially in the climate over the last 2 years, why you shouldn't do that. A way back, I was asked quite a few times, in fact, not just once, if it could be done over Skype. And the answer was, for quite a few years, no, but now you can. I'm saying Skype over the internet by whatever means is agreed between you and the examination centre. So that's how you can do it. The other thing is, I'm going to go through the levels very basically over the next 50 minutes or so. We might actually cut it short depending on how many people are watching. But you can start your PDQB journey at any level up to level 6. That's SQA 6, was PDQB 4. Now, in reality, it will be stated that, let's say, you go in at level 6. Now, that's where I went in, so that was level 4 at that time. The guidelines will say that, yes, you can go in at level 6, but you may be asked any question from the preceding syllabus. So that's, in theory, what they're saying. Yeah, you can go in and you can sit this slightly more advanced exam if you want, but bear in mind that we might actually ask you questions from anything that was contained in the exams before that. On a practical level, you may be asked that, but on a theoretical level, you may be asked that, but on a practical level, you only have a certain amount of time to sit these exams. Are you going to be asked extra questions? You may be on a casual basis, on an unofficial basis, but I can't see anyone actually asking you any questions from the previous exams, certainly not in the theory. So, where do we start then? I'm just going to ring up. I've got my computer in front of me just now, and if you have a look at the website is pdqb.org. It's quite simple, and it lists the qualifications that you can go through. Now, they refer to them on the website here as SCQF. It's all the same. You'll see that strangely we start at level 2. Well, that's because it's all tied in with Scottish Qualification Authority levels, and it's the same level. I think by the time you get up to the level 8 bagpipes, you're either looking at higher national certificate or higher national diploma level. That's the way that it all ties in. So it explains in the different sections just exactly what is required. What it doesn't give you are the exact examination questions itself, although you can see mock examination papers on the site as well. So we're looking at, this is level 2, I'm just going to scroll back up, and it's the practical level, yeah. So the first one is solo performance, which is on the practice chanter. So I would suggest that perhaps this is something which would be suitable to someone attending a week's school or more or less a beginner. It's perhaps something that could be achieved by the end of that week. It's fairly basic. It's all on the practice chanter. So the reason it's broken down in the way it is broken down, we're looking at study area 1, perform piping exercises on the practice chanter. Study area 2, perform monotone exercises to show your understanding of rhythm. We'll come back to these monotones in a little bit contentious, but they're still there. And study area 3, perform a programme of bagpipe music on the practice chanter. Now, this is all SQA speak, Scottish Qualifications Authority speak. The exact things you'll need to do is contains more in the examination paper itself. We'll have a look at let's have a look at these monotones, because they're a sort of bone of contention. And if you look at the bodies that started this exam in the first place, I would hazard a guess that monotones came from the Royal Scottish Pipe Band Association. So monotones is purely rhythm. If we take a 4/4 monotone, for example, you will see these written out, and they're written out just exactly like drummer scores. What you're asked to do with the monotones, which in a 4/4 time would be at its most basic level, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 beats to the bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If we break that down, we could do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's the kind of thing you're going to be asked to do, and you're going to be asked to identify note fractions and beat out that particular fraction of a note, whether it's a semi-breve, a minim, a crotchet, a quaver. You're beating it out rather than playing it. It can be a little bit alien to some people, but if the way that I approached it was, first of all, you're not going to get asked anything particularly difficult in these monotones. When you get to the slightly more advanced level, you only do monotones up to level 6, SCQF. After that, they're done and dusted. It will incorporate rests as well. So to translate, it's drummer stuff really, but it doesn't do us any great harm to at least understand it. You will be presented with a sheet containing up to 6 lines of monotones, lines. And what they'll say is that you'll be asked to tap out the rhythm to the monotones shown, and you'll be asked to tap out the rhythm to the lines selected by the examiner. The way that I approach these monotones is I'll look at the time signature. I then think of a tune that I know in that time signature, and I will tap the monotones out, paying attention to what's on the sheet, but with the tune in mind. So if we think of something like, for example, in 6/8 time, the Atholl Highlanders, and we've got monotones in 6/8 time, it'd be something like ta-da-dee-dee, ha-dun-dee, ha-dun-da-ha-da. Now that's just a basic example. They're not popular in the monotones amongst pipers. I can actually tell you they're not particularly popular amongst the drummers in the early days either, but they are part of the exams. That's them out the road. In levels 2 to 6, they are included in the exams, and after that, should you wish, you can forget them. I have forgotten them. So the next thing we're going to look at then is the theory questions. Now, you only see that on the PDQB site if you actually open up the examination papers. So I'm going to open up one just now, and we'll take the basic one, the theory SCQF level 2 on the practice chanter. You're allowed 1 hour to complete the examination. What you're shown then, if we open up the, remember pdqb.org, and then go down and select the mock question paper for SCQF level 2. Now, without giving the game away too much, it used to be the case that there were, for each exam, 4 examination papers. Now, it's been some time since I've examined. I don't have access to the papers anymore, nor am I interested in getting access to them, but it didn't change much. So what you're seeing on the mock papers won't be too different, if it's any different at all, to what's contained in the real exam paper. So I'm going to pretend then that you are looking at the paper, and we'll have a look at the first question here. It says, complete the table below giving the pitch name, brackets, the letter name, the duration name and the duration value of the notes provided. And they go as far as to give you an example as soon as we open them up. So they're showing you basically a D on the stave. It's a quaver, and that means the name of it is a quaver, and it means that the fraction is an 8th note. Now there's the first thing. What you have to do when you're sitting these exams, the theory in particular, is read the question properly. So I'm sounding like a school teacher here, but we are dealing with official exams. It's not just a case of knowing all the subject in your head, it's knowing how to play the exam, and we'll come back to that in a little bit as well. So please read the question properly. You've got an hour there, there's not a lot in it. What is the question asking me? How do I have to answer that? What it doesn't show you here, I don't think, I'm scrolling down now. Why? Okay, so there are 12 marks awarded. 12 marks awarded in this question. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see, I've miscounted and there's 6. So you're going to get two marks for each question. How can I possibly get 2 marks for each question? Have a look at that and see where your marks are going to come from, or more importantly, as we go down later, where your marks will be deducted. So it comes on, and very often what you'll find in the exams here is they'll give you the mirror image of a question that they've just asked. So what they've done in question number 1 is they've shown you notes on the stave. They've asked you what is the pitch of that note, A, B, C, D. What is the name of that note, duration, so quaver, crotchet. And they asked you what fraction of a whole note that is. What they're doing here in question number 2 is they're reversing that round. They want you to write on the staff a B minim, and they also tell you it's a half note. That's immaterial. If you know both the minim and the fractions, then saying a minim would be enough. And they ask you to write that down on the stave. Excuse me just a second. Now, what's important in these exams as well, and perhaps a little bit unfair, is they're asking you to be a little bit of an artist too. So make sure the note goes on the right line, the right space. You might be asked to draw a duration table. Try and make it legible. You do get quite a bit of leeway. If it's plain that we know what you mean, you'll probably get the marks. So if we look at number 3, explain how the duration of a note is affected when a dot is added after it. Now, this is something new. Looking at this here, provide an example showing the effect of the duration note you have chosen when the dot is added. So they're asking you to show the actual note, and they've written here a dotted crotchet is a crotchet plus a quaver. Right, now they're giving you a clue there as well. And this is part of the way you can actually play the system, because there's a stock answer. Explain how the duration of a note is affected when a dot is added after it. Now we could say it makes it longer. And yeah, you'd be right, but it's not the answer we're looking for because it's not exactly right. The answer we're looking for is a dot placed after a note increases the duration of that note by half its original value. So a dot placed after a note, that's the bit you could actually leave out, I suppose, because you could say it increases the duration of that note by half its original value. Look at the components of that and where you would get marks taken off. If you say it increases the duration of that note, we've got half a mark there. But how much does it increase the duration of that note by? It increases the duration of that note by half its original value. And there's your definition. It's like a legal definition. And that's what you need in there. Now, looking down at number 4, and this is a classic example of what's asked, explain how the duration of a note is affected when a tail is added. Well, if you've got number 3 right, you should get number 4 right. When a tail is added to a note, its duration is decreased by half its original value. Not increased by half its original value, decreased by half its original value. Now, there's 4 marks. Now, I think the pass mark is something like 40%. So if you can get these 2, that's you got 4 marks. So there are ways to play the exams. Now, excuse me while I open this back up again. Lost it. Okay, 4 questions there. All reasonably simple. Okay, this is the most basic exam. Number 5, and we're into the drawing skills here. Draw a stave, 5 lines. Draw the treble clef, or the G clef in fact, in the correct position. Divide the stave into 4 equal bars using bar lines. Now, as an ex-assessor, I'm going to say right now, if your bar lines weren't exactly equally spaced, but they were nearly there, I would be giving you the benefit of the doubt. Not everyone will. So there are ways to actually get that. You get to take a ruler in with you. You can measure it out in a ruler. You can fold your page in half. Then your centre line is going to be exactly down the middle of that page. Half again on either side will give you the spacing for the lines on either side. Insert into each bar notes or note groups that are equal to the value of 2 crotchets. That's quarter notes for those in America. Each bar should contain different examples. 2 crotchets. Now the first one, they want 4 groups. So the first group I would give, even if I didn't know that much about it, would be 2 crotchets. They've already told you that. So the groups that are equal to the value of 2 crotchets. Moving one up, crotchet is a quarter note. I would then place in a half note. So that's your 2 crotchets being a half note. Moving down, we could have 4 eighth notes. So that's 4 quavers, and so on. So it's almost more maths than musical knowledge in here. But in the question, they give you the first bar. You've got 8 marks for that complete question. So, question number 6, draw on the staff below how you would indicate a line of music was to be repeated. Now, we should know that there are 2 double dots placed at the end of the bar, but we can also put two bars in, and that would be 1 mark. You've got 2 marks here. But you can also be smart and put 2 lines at the start of the stave and your 2 dots there as well. And that really should get you your 2 marks. Now, again, moving down to number 7, and we're going to come off the theory in a minute. Copy the following piece of music onto the blank staff provided below. Copy the following piece of music onto the staff below. You could actually do that without knowing anything about music whatsoever. Because we've got, anyway, what we got here, Dre, Ato, Andre, Ato, Andre, 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 Ato, Ato, Hate. That's, my mind's went blank, but sometimes I like, if I'm copying a piece of music or I'm writing a bit of music down, if I know what the tune is, it helps. So, but even without knowing, we've got a thrown D, a dotted D there to start it. We don't even have to know what that is. It's a purely artistic exercise. So copy. Now, that's maybe a wee bit unfair because we're testing people's artistic ability rather than their musical ability. And that's it. If you are now ready to hand in your paper, our advice is to take time, if still available, to check. Okay, and that's the most basic one done. Moving on. Oral maintenance activity. We'll have a little look at that because I can remember some of that off the top of my head, and I can give you what will get you points. But what I used to say, if I was working at perhaps a summer school or a week school for the College of Piping, which was what I used to do in the main, at the start of the week, students will be assessed and broken up into groups, and we'll pretty much make our mind up that day with an educated guess what exam we're going to push these people towards at the end of the week if they choose to sit an exam. So we will have been working towards that exam all week, and again in the first few days we will pretty much get an idea, is this person going to actually pass this exam? The day before they sit the exam, because they don't necessarily sit the exam on the second last day or the last day, they sit the exam when they're ready. And a lot of the time I'll have been going back and forward looking at students and knowing that they know the answer to the exam papers they're going to get. But sometimes when people sit with an exam paper, an actual exam paper in front of them, they have brain freeze. And what I tell them is empty your head onto that paper, brain dump onto that paper, because we will decipher your answer. This comes later on because you'll be asked exam questions like, explain how you would put a set of pipes which haven't been played for several months or years into good working order. Now, well, I went over that. There will be perhaps, say, 12 marks awarded for the answers given. It doesn't have to be put down in essay fashion. It can be bullet points. 12 marks, you're going to guess that there's going to have to be maybe 12 points made. And what we ask is that you just brain dump onto that page. Let's have a look at this, the last bit of the first examination. Oral maintenance activity. Now, you'll be asked, for example, how you would dismantle the practice chanter. I hope I'm going to make this through. It's almost time to go into the actual practical portion. How would you dismantle the practice chanter? Well, you will take the top joint here and you will hold the ball of the chanter. You'll move the hands in opposite directions, and you will take care when you're moving the bottom joint from the top joint not to damage the corners of the practice chanter reed. I could have tried that first before I demonstrated that. Likewise, when you're putting the chanter back together, take care not to damage the corners of the practice chanter reed and carefully insert before turning using the ball of the practice chanter. Now, for an extra point, why are we using the ball of the practice chanter? Now, you all know that out here. We're not using the ball, we're not using the bottom of the practice chanter, because if we're tight up here, it could be that you actually fracture the practice chanter right up. Now, what I've went through there, that's about 2 or 3 marks. It's quite easy, but you've demonstrated that you know what you're doing. You could stick to these exact words. you could explain it in other words, but if you cover the points, then we're into a pass. Let's have a look at what else we're going to be asked. We're going to be asked how you would hemp the practice chanter. We're going to be asked what hemp you should use on the practice chanter. Now, I don't care what hemp you think you should use, but the answer to the examination question is you should use black waxed hemp on the joint because it repels moisture. All points there. And you should apply the hemp, I'm just going to take the readout, you should apply the hemp evenly and tightly, testing the fit now and again. You could also demonstrate that you know that the black waxed hemp is going to crush in itself, and you can roll it on the edge of a table. This is all points. This is all points in the exam. Now, when you're putting the reed back in, we don't put it in by the blades because we can damage the blades. We can place it back in by using the copper staple and the body of the reed. Check that the reed's in firmly. You don't swing it about like that, but the reed is in firmly. And again, replace the chanter by using the ball at the top there. Another question that you may well be asked, remember this is all oral. It's the examiner will be sitting in front of you asking to demonstrate what you would do. How would you dry the practice chanter? Well, the basic answer to that then is you would dry it by storing it upside down so that any moisture in there may run out the practice chanter. A good banker for that one as well is to add that you wouldn't store the chanter or dry it out placed next to any heat source. It needs to be natural to dry out. You may also wish to say that you would, if to clean the chanter, you would use a brush, and maybe pay particular attention to the mouthpiece. Now, this is all pretty much bog standard stuff that will gain you points. It doesn't really matter the exact words you use, but make sure that you get these points across. You know it, put the points across. Put the points across orally and put the points across on paper, and you'll pretty much pass. I've seen kids, excuse me, I've got 3 lessons to go after this, I hope I can make it. So I've seen kids that I've been with all week, I know that they know the answer to these questions inside out, and I've seen them as soon as the papers actually appear, I've seen the head go down and they're sitting with the head on the desk because they just take stage fright in front of this paper. I know they know it. I'm not an examiner anymore, so I'm quite happily going to turn around and say, I would nudge them and say, do you remember what you told me before about this? Yes, I do. I did this as well. Please put it down in the paper. They are official qualifications, but we're pipers here. We should be helping each other, especially young kids. Let's have a look at the practical, where we should also actually be helping the kids passing. Now, I don't think I actually ever, yeah, I did assess this very, very basic exam. Anyway, now, okay, I'm just scrolling up to see what examination this is that I've picked out. Okay, I picked out level 8. I'm going to talk a little bit, let's talk a little bit about the other requirements. In the first practice chanter level, you're asked for 2 tunes, and you're asked for 2 tunes of common time. So 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Don't play a 3/4, they're too long. When you select your tunes for the examination, make it simple tunes, okay? Because you get just as many points for playing a simple tune well as you do for playing a complicated tune well. Play the exams. This is not a competition. Play the exams. So a simple tune, for example, the 2 practice chanter tunes, Terry Bus and High Road to Gaylord, no problem at all. Whatever you want to play. We go on from there. I believe that the next exam will ask for one simple, one compound, maybe a slow air, maybe a strathspey, and maybe a reel. Again, keep it simple. Not the latest tune you've learned, keep it simple. Let's have a quick look at the basic page again. This is my dog's food about to be delivered. I hope he doesn't go crazy. So we come to level 3, which is the next exam, and the level 4, which is pretty much the same thing but played on bagpipes. You're going to have to excuse me a minute. My dog won't forgive me if I don't get his food. Right, happy dog, or it should be. Sorry about that. So, given that the level 3 on the practice chanter isn't too different from the level 4 on the bagpipes, would you, if you can actually already play bagpipes, would you sit the level 3? And you pay for these, don't forget. No, I wouldn't. I would go straight for the bagpipes. So let's have a look at the solo performance on level 4, the bagpipes, and let's see what we were asked to do. Now there's a couple of points in here just as I'm scrolling down which are worth paying attention to as well. So, blah, 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 blah. Okay. They're still asked to play exercises on the practice chanter. Exercises will include doublings, the throw in D, grips, burl and a burl with a G, grace notes, terluiths and tachums. We're still going to give you monotones here. It says you will play bagpipe tunes in different time signatures and with accurate notation to show performance skill and technique. Now don't forget that this level is the first level on bagpipes, so it's designed for people who aren't too long on the pipes to demonstrate their skill there. We'll just have a quick look though. You must play in the practice chanter all the following exercises. Now don't look at that and say, oh no, that's going to take ages. We haven't got time for you to play all the following exercises. So it says all doublings, low G to high A from any note of the scale. You're not going to be asked to do that. You're going to be asked, let's have a doubling to C from low A. Pass. So learn your doublings and learn all the embellishments, learn the names, learn how to play them. I'm continually frustrated by people who, I'll say that's a doubling in C. How do you play a doubling in C again? Well, we've went through it, you know, and yeah, I'll tell you again, but it's very annoying. So learn that. Grips, including grips with a B grace note, just to explain that. A D grip and a D terluith is played with a B grace note, not a D grace note. Tachums, C doublings to low A and B doublings to low G. What is that? Where does that come in? C doublings to low A, B doublings to low G with an E grace note as used in strathspey playing. You've probably done that exercise. Pass. There you are. Brilliant. So, moving on. And let's see, monotone exercises. Yes. So here we come. We're cutting down to it now. Performing a programme of bagpipe music. You must show musical skills by selecting and playing from memory on the bagpipes 2 parts each of a slow air, either a 3/4 or a 4/4 march, a 6/8 or a 9/8 march. Again, I play a 6/8 because a 9/8's longer basically. one strathspey and one reel. It doesn't say there a two-parted strathspey, a two-parted reel, but that's what to play. Keep it simple. So the tunes must incorporate some of the embellishments from the exercise section of this unit. It's highly unlikely that you will know strathspeys or reels of any decency at all that aren't going to contain some of these embellishments. The performance of each tune will be assessed against the following criteria. Rhythm. Okay. Tempo. Don't play too fast. Again though, is it the correct tempo? Err on the slow side. Technique. Well, that's your embellishments there. Blowing. Are you blowing steadily? Does the instrument sound steady? Melody and musical expression. At this level, we're going to say, is it actually sounding like a tune? Is it musical? And that's the benchmark. Mistakes and faults. Here's a little inside information for you. We can only take off or take away marks for a maximum of 2 mistakes per bar. So you actually get to make quite a few mistakes before you're going to fail. Let's look at the criteria again. So, does it say your pipes must be tuned perfectly? No, it doesn't. Does it say that you must have perfect rhythm and expression? No, it doesn't. In fact, at this level, if you're not sure about tuning pipes yourself, I would ask the examiner if they're willing to tune your pipes for you. Not a problem there at all. Moving on to the next level, because we just did, I think that was level 4 there. Let's just have a look at how we move and what sort of a sound is expected from you and your pipes. We're now moving up to level 5, which, if memory serves me correctly, might include the ground of a pibroch. Scrolling down, still doing monotones. Okay, this is the first time that tuning the chanter and drones is actually mentioned here. You will show that you can tune the chanter and drones of the bagpipes accurately, as well as blow correctly and maintain tonal quality with chanter and drone balance. They also ask, you will march in time, displaying correct posture and bearing with correct carriage of the bagpipes. Now, tune the chanter and drones of the bagpipes accurately. It doesn't say perfectly there. So we want you to make an attempt at it. We want you to get in the ballpark. But it's not the end of the world if they're not quite as locked in as you would like. Remember, we want as good a performance off you as you can possibly do, but you are playing the exam game. And the pass mark, the standard for a pass isn't actually particularly high. You want as good a pass as you can possibly get, but don't think that my pipes weren't as good as they could have been is going to get you a fail. It's not. You will march in time displaying correct posture and bearing with correct carriage of the bagpipes. Now, I'm ex-Scots Guards. I wasn't the smartest guardsman going, but I can stand up straight, I can march in time and carry my pipes properly. My standards, as far as that goes, are probably higher than most. But no one is expecting you to be a guardsman or an absolute robot and being as smart as a new pin. Stand up straight as you would normally do. You will march in time. I'll be honest with you, I've never actually assessed anyone on their marching. I've never consciously assessed anyone on their marching because I don't think it's fair. I want to hear them playing. So I'll be much more listening to what you're playing rather than watch you do your Robbie the Robot march. It's not really of any great concern. You will march in time. Do you know what that can consist of? That can just consist of left, right, left, and there you've done it. Because don't forget, we're talking exam speak here. If you march a few steps from one side of the room to the other and turn round, you have completed what the exam asks you to do. And I would actually say, keep it to that minimum. Because if you've done it and it's went all right, why then would you turn round and do it again with the chance that it might not be all right? Now, I'm also aware that in some competitions, particularly in the States, marching is required. It's not really in over here, but I know that marching is required, and I was used the same tactics there. You know, march from one side of the boards to the other, perhaps back again, and you've fulfilled that requirement. So, 13 of you watching now. If you're not members, you can't actually comment, so I would welcome your comments. So have a wee think about coming on as a member. I'll try and be a little bit more structured. I'm going to bring this to a close over the next 5 minutes or so. So things began playing wise to increase. We're looking for your pipes to maybe be blown correctly, a decent tone to come off them. We then come up to level 6. Now, two things happen at level 6. The first thing is we, I think, are looking for march, sustain, reel, hornpipe, jig, 4 parts of each. As far as I remember, it's only submit 1 of each. I could be wrong, it might be submit 2. Simplest ones you know. Take your time. It's the last monotone theory exam. And that's in the theory now as well. I think it used to be in the practical, which was a bone of contention. After that, you leave these behind. On the level 5 and the level 6, you will be asked an essay type question. Brain dump that down there. There's only really 4 possible scenarios you're going to be asked for. You should be equipped with the knowledge to answer that question before your instructor or your assessor actually says, yes, let's have you sit in this exam. So we should, before we say, yeah, come and sit this exam, we should be finding out a little bit about you, saying, what do you know? And then we'll try and guide you towards the exam we know you can pass. The level 6, you're going to be asked Pibroch embellishments. You're going to be asked a little bit of Cantarach, but it's only going to be concerning very, very basic Pibroch movements. So let's say the hearing, the darado, the dree, the idri, all pretty basic stuff. So, and again, on your theory paper, there will be reversals of these questions. You'll be shown a dree on the staff and you'll be asked, what is that? Remember, one goes up the way and one comes down the way. So it's a dree or an idri. You will then be given, let's say, 4 Cantarach terms, and you will be asked to write them out on the staff. So, pretty straightforward. Your Pibroch, get through it. Don't stop. Get through it. It's not a competition. If you make a mistake, then you can correct that mistake if you wish and carry on and finish your Pibroch. You must finish your Pibroch to be assessed. If you don't finish it, it may be a fail because that's a biggie. So finish it. I think also at this stage you may be asked to demonstrate the 4 types of Cran Luath, so you need to know them as well. But the important thing about a level 6 is that's sort of a full stop on your first journey. So you're up to your first Pibroch. You also have the option after level 6 to sit your tutor certificate, and it's a nice handy thing to have. It's not, this is a slight difference in here, the tutors and the teacher certificates are not Scottish Qualification Authority accredited. So they are not Scottish Qualification Authority examinations, but they are Piping and Drumming Qualification Board examinations. I think actually once you sit the level 6, you can also become an assessor up to level 6. I could be wrong in that. So you can sit the tutor certificate. The level 7 bagpipes is quite Pibroch orientated. We get into the Western major scale, stuff like that. It's not very interesting. The other thing that they do in the level 7 is they're quite heavy on requirements for dancing. And the answers for all the dancing questions are taken from Captain John McClellan's book, where the format for playing for dancing is included in the back of the tunes. So get that book, because that's where these answers come from. Don't forget, there are verbatim answers that will gain you points. So that's where we need them from. To be honest, by the time you get to the level 7, you're asked for 4 Pibroch. 1 including a standard Cranluath, a Brebach Cranluath, a Fosgill and a Cranluath Amach. If you're at that standard, we sort of expect you to know all that stuff as well, but it's still an SQA exam and you can still play the exam game. But remember where on this occasion, Captain John McClellan's book, you need that. The level 8, I think it's submit, I think it's 6 or 8 of everything. And part of the difference here is your pipes are meant to be tuned to a high standard, pretty much a perfect standard actually, but it's still an SQA exam. There is room for error and room for imperfection. That's on the solo side, and we're just about done here. After you have sat your level 8, you can, if you wish, sit your teacher's certificate, which is 1 up from the tutor's certificate. It's not very different. Not very different. I think it's more Pibroch weighted. Finally, after having sat the level 8, you can apply to be an assessor, or you can be asked to apply to be an assessor. If you wish to actually assess at level 8, then you must achieve an A pass in both your theory and your practical. So I was eventually allowed to sit to assess at level 8. I never did it. And actually not long after that I decided that it was time to leave the assessor type thing anyway. So that's rather a lot of talking. I hope it helped. We were hoping that you would access the website and look at this stuff with me when I went through it. There's a lot more to it than that. What we'll maybe do again in the members area is we will maybe give you practical demonstrations of how you should play the practical part of your exams, and we'll have a look at doing that shortly. So thanks for bearing with me. I'm just going to go back into this, and there may be members watching, but nobody's decided to have a chat. Again, the first time we did these members area live chats, we threw it open to the public, and it was quite interactive. If you wish to take part in the live chat, you must be a channel member. You can do that by using the join button, not below this. In fact, yeah, the link should be below this as well. And we'll leave this video up for a wee while. I'll probably take it down because I'm very much aware that I have waffled and I'm beginning to lose my voice. So I hope it was of use to you. Again, just to recap, nobody's saying to you, you will be a better piper if you sit these exams. It may help you improve by preparing for the exams. It gives you something to be proud of. If you've worked towards an exam, then you've got a certificate there. Again, if you're in the UK, it's a proper educational certificate. Elsewhere, it's just a little benchmark for you. We're not like just about every other instrument in the world who have exams that people attempt as they progress in the instrument. These are very much optional. So, but they are there. You can approach them and play as well as you possibly can, answer all the questions perfectly. You can also play the examination game. Just play as well as you can. And please enjoy them. Also remember that you're not going to be sitting in a big room with other people, and the person operating the exam knows nothing about your subject. You're going to be sitting in front of other pipers, and we're going to help you. We're going to give you leeway. We're going to try and give you pointers in the right direction. If you make a mess of your first tune, we'll let you play it again. Don't spread that about, but we will. Especially if we've been on a course with you all week and we've heard you play the thing 3 times perfectly anyway. So enjoy it, consider it, and you can sit it anywhere in the world over the internet if you wish. That's it in a nutshell. Next time, I think what we'll try and do is we'll have a look at your approaches to solo competition. That is to say, your regime for practicing, what you would do on the day, and what a judge may be looking for at the perhaps the lower levels of solo competition. So thanks for bearing with me, and we'll see you in a month's time. How does one switch this off now? There we go. I do.